India's voice to the world. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. US President says US-Japan alliance is stronger than ever as he hosts the Japanese Prime Minister Kishida at a state dinner. Agree on 70 agreements strengthening defense ties. Kishida to address US Congress on Thursday. North Korean leader Kim Jong Un says now is the time to be ready for war. Cites unstable geopolitical situation surrounding the country as the reason. Senior leaders of South Korean ruling party tenders resignation to President Yoon after a heavy defeat in parliamentary elections. Opposition scores landslide victory but fall just short of a supermajority. Israel to open new North Gaza crossing for overseas and Jordanian aid. US President urges Hamas to accept latest ceasefire deal. US President Joe Biden and First Lady hosted Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida and his wife for a state dinner at the White House. During a toast at the state dinner, Biden stated that the alliance between the two countries is stronger than ever. Kishida further emphasized on Biden's sentiment, asserting that despite the Pacific Ocean between the two nations, the pioneering spirit of those who came before us had united them.
We are the same, Japan and the United States. We may be divided by distance, but generations after generation, we've been brought together, the same hopes, the same values, the same commitment to democracy and freedom and to dignity for all. And today, without question, our alliance is literally stronger than it has ever been.
Japan and the United States are united than ever before. I believe that the Pacific Ocean has brought Japan and the United States together and so close because of the pioneering spirit of those who came before us and frontier spirit that we all have in common.
Meanwhile, President Biden is hosting the leaders of the Philippines and Japan on Thursday, a day after he held a bilateral summit with a visiting Japanese dignitary. The three countries are expected to talk about economic ties and to lock in defense deals they see as crucial in securing the Indo-Pacific. Caroline Malone gets us more from Washington.
It was clear from Wednesday's White House events between US President Biden and Japanese Prime Minister Kishida that the two are similarly aligned in wanting to forge a positive alliance in the Indo-Pacific to secure a prosperous and safe region. To do that, they've announced key defense deals with the promise of more to come.
Under his leadership, Japan set in motion profound changes in its defense policies and its capabilities. Now our two countries are building a stronger defense partnership and a stronger Indo-Pacific than ever before.
As a global partner, Japan will join hands with our American friends, and together we will lead the way in tackling the challenges of the Indo-Pacific and the world. Looking ahead toward the world will be like 10 years, 100 years and now, while tirelessly developing the relationships between our countries.
And ahead of Thursday's trilateral between the US and Japan and the Philippines, President Marcos said he sees the focus of meetings being on strengthening economic relations, but also on security. That, he said, the main intent of this trilateral is for us to be able to continue to flourish, to be able to help one another, and of course to keep the peace in the South China Sea and the freedom of navigation. The US, Japan and the Philippines, along with Australia, held military drills in the South China Sea over the weekend. Before those exercises, the four countries said they intend to uphold the right to freedom of navigation and respect maritime rights under international law. The implication of all of this is that they want to ward off increasingly assertive actions from China in the South China Sea. Well, President Biden said, alongside Japanese Prime Minister Kishida on Wednesday, that he will be welcoming another friend to the White House on Thursday, a sign of the warmer ties that are strengthening between all three countries. Caroline Malone in Washington for DD India.
On Wednesday, Prime Minister Kishida presented new cherry trees in Washington, D.C.'s tidal basin. The new trees will replace the older ones that will be removed for repairs at the site. In total, Japan will donate 250 new cherry trees to mark US's 250th birthday in 2026. Japan has given the US some 3,000 cherry trees as part of a symbolic gesture of friendship between the two nations. North Korean leader Kim Jong Un on Thursday said that unstable geopolitical situations surrounding his country mean now is the time to be more prepared for war than ever, as he inspected the country's main military university. Kim gave field guidance on Wednesday at Kim Jong-un University of Military and Politics and met with university staff and students. North Korea has stepped up weapons development in recent years under Kim and has forged closer military and political ties with Russia, allegedly aiding Moscow in its war with Ukraine in return for help with strategic military projects. South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol's ruling party suffered a resounding blow in legislative elections held on Wednesday. The country's liberal opposition parties scored a landslide victory but fell just short of a supermajority. The main opposition, Democratic Party, and its satellite party won a combined 175 seats in the 300-seat parliament. Following the drubbing, Yoon, Prime Minister Han Duck-soo, and other senior aides tendered their resignation. The election setback is likely to further tie his hands domestically. The National Election Commission is expected to confirm the final results later on Thursday. DD India correspondent Chris Gilbert spells out more details.
This is a significant setback for the PPP, for Yoon Suk-yeol's party. He is now set to become the first ever South Korean president to do a 5-year term with no party control over the National Assembly at all. And so that effectively, as experts say, makes him a lame duck for the rest of the 3 years of his term. He was, of course, elected into a situation which had an opposition Democratic Party controlled parliament, and now it is the status quo. It looks to have become a stronger hold on the parliament for the Democratic Party. President Yoon Suk-yeol has already come out and said that he accepts the results of the election, and he is looking ahead. He's saying that he wants to now focus on stabilizing the lives of the people of South Korea and stabilizing the economy. Obviously, this is a terrible situation politically for the PPP. There may have to be some soul searching and some regrouping that they are going to have to do. There also is going to be some analysis of how the constituency and the demographics in South Korea are changing, especially considering that what has traditionally been a very bipartisan country is now becoming less so, with experts saying about 30% of the electorate was undecided or perhaps a newly emerged swing voter going into this election, which, with the analysis in the days and weeks to come may show that is the reason behind some of the strength of the DP's win. But, for Yoon Suk-yeol, the pressure is going to be on maintaining his message for South Korea on the global stage, especially with the relations with Japan, especially relations with the United States, when he doesn't have any control over the parliament. For the parliament, it means they're going to have to focus on their agenda, but they don't have the power to veto Yoon Suk-yeol's veto, so there are some challenges ahead.
All right, shifting focus now, Israel will open a new land crossing into Gaza Strip designed mainly to facilitate aid deliveries from overseas or neighboring Jordan to Palestinians. Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant said a new crossing point would be created on the northern part of the Gaza border to reduce the time taken to truck in aid from Ashdod. Israel has gradually reopened 2 established cargo crossings and created a new crossing on its border. Last week, it also announced to admit Gaza-bound aid shipments at its southern port of Ashdod. Israel has also helped set up a maritime corridor for direct deliveries of aid to Gaza by sea and opened its airspace to foreign planes that have parachuted in aid for the Palestinians. Meanwhile, 3 sons of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh were killed in Israeli territory. In fact, Israeli airstrike in Gaza on Wednesday. The Israeli military confirmed carrying out the attack and described the 3 sons as operatives in the Hamas. Haniyeh is based abroad in Qatar and is the face of Hamas's international diplomacy. His family home was destroyed in an Israeli airstrike back in November. Also, Hamas said it was studying an Israeli ceasefire proposal and termed it as intransigent, saying it met none of the Palestinian demands. US President Joe Biden has urged Hamas on Wednesday to accept the latest proposal for a temporary ceasefire in Gaza in exchange for the release of hostages.
We're not going to stop until we do. The new proposal on the table, Bill Burns led the effort for us. We're grateful for his work. There's a now up to Hamas. They need to move on the proposal that's been made. And as I said, we'll get these hostages home where they belong, but also bring back a 6-week ceasefire that we need now. And the fact is that we're getting in somewhere in the last 3 days over 100 trucks. It's not enough, but needs to be more, and there's one more opening that has to take place in the north. So we'll see what he does in terms of meeting the commitments he made to me.
Germany's Lufthansa Airlines suspended flights to Tehran because of the situation in the Middle East, as the region is on alert for possible Iranian retaliation over a suspected Israeli airstrike on Iran's embassy in Syria. An Iranian news agency briefly stoked tensions further when it published an Arabic report on social media platform X saying all airspace over Tehran had been closed for military drills. The agency then removed the report and denied it had issued any such news. Lufthansa Airlines said it suspended flights to and from Tehran from 6th April till 11th. There was no immediate word from other international airlines that fly to Tehran. Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei said that Israel must be punished for the Damascus strike that killed 7 Iranian Revolutionary Guards Corps members. In an apparent response to Khamenei, Israeli Foreign Minister said on Wednesday that Israel will respond if Iran attacks Israel from its own soil. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken has made it clear that the United States would stand with Israel against any threats by Iran. Blinken, in a call with Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, discussed the ongoing efforts to secure the release of all hostages through an agreement for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. One person was killed and multiple people were injured in a shooting incident in Washington, D.C. Police have issued a public alert for the car believed to be carrying the gunman that fled the scene. Washington has recently experienced a series of high-profile carjackings, robberies and shootings, including a daylight incident in which a former Trump administration office official, Mike Gill, was shot and killed in his car. Italian rescue teams continue to search for survivors after at least 3 people were killed in an explosion underground at a hydroelectric power plant in northern Italy. Italian utility group confirmed that fire had broken out on one of its transformers at its hydropower plant in Borghi, close to Bologna, in early afternoon. The cause of the explosion is still not clear. Professional bakers make Turkish dish baklava for Eid celebrations. Baklava is a layered dessert made of phyllo pastry sheets filled with chopped nuts and sweetened with syrup or honey. Now, these sweets are specially prepared to increase enthusiasm and joy of the holiday. We're heading for a short break on DD India Live, but after the break, flood swamped swathes of Russia and Kazakhstan, but worse is still to come. India celebrates Eid ul-Fitr today, marking the end of fasting of the month of Ramadan. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi extends wishes on the occasion. As India decides in the world's largest election,
we help you feel the pulse of the nation.
I am Sakal Bhatt.
I am Shubhendu Ghosh.
This election season, join us on a journey of India.
Discover the colors of democracy. Watch Poll Pulse on DD India.
Opposition stuns Erdogan with historic victory in Turkish local poll. Will the defeat force Erdogan to reset his foreign policy? Will artificial intelligence enslave humans? And crypto king Sam Bankman-Fried will grow old in jail. So what lessons should we learn from his conviction? Watch Connecting the Dots to get the full picture every Friday at 8 p.m. IST on DD India.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India Live and I'm Preeti. Let's get you more international updates. European lawmakers have approved a revised immigration system on Wednesday in an effort to thwart the gains made by the far right ahead of the bloc's legislative election in June. Reducing undesired immigration from the Middle East and Africa is a top concern for the bloc, and its goal is to shorten the time it takes for security and asylum procedures at external EU borders while also increasing the returns. However, far-right, anti-immigration and Eurosceptic parties have harshly attacked it for not going far enough to halt migration, while socialist and human rights advocates have denounced it as a serious setback to human rights.
The European Parliament has just voted in favour of a new way forward on asylum and migration. We have listened. We have acted and we have delivered on one of the main concerns of people across Europe. This is a historic day for Europe. I want to thank members of the European Parliament who have spent years working on this.
The European Parliament voted on Wednesday to pass a law to reduce carbon dioxide emissions from trucks. The move will require most new heavy-duty vehicles sold in the EU from 2040 to be emissions-free. The law will enforce a 90% cut in CO2 emissions from new heavy-duty vehicles by 2040. To attempt to pull the transport sector in line with climate change targets, truck manufacturers will also have to reduce the CO2 emissions of their fleets by 45% by 2030 and 65% by 2035. The policy still needs final approval from EU countries, a step that is usually a formality, and approves a law with no changes. Campaigners are demanding higher taxes on the ultra-wealthy, saying it would raise up to $286 billion for the European Union's most vulnerable. The protesters say they will land a private jet in front of the European Parliament in protest on Thursday. However, that claim could just be a marketing gimmick for the bigger cause. Ishan Garg has more from Brussels.
Campaigners will gather outside the European Parliament building in Brussels demanding a 2 to 5% progressive tax on the ultra-rich. They say it could pay for up to 40% of the EU's post-pandemic recovery fund. Global NGO Oxfam says the EU's 5 richest billionaires have boosted their wealth by 76% since 2020. They claim 99% of the European population has become relatively poorer in the same time period. A study commissioned by the EU's executive arm has found that a progressive wealth tax on the bloc's richest 0.5% could generate more than $200 billion every year. NGOs including Oxfam, Avaz and We Move Europe are organizing Thursday's protest. They claim they will land a jet in Luxembourg Square in the heart of the Belgian capital in the middle of the narrow cobbled streets leading up to the European Parliament building. Now, this stunt, which is unlikely to happen in practice, is supposed to be a commentary on how the ultra-wealthy are hurting the environment by flying in private planes. The campaigners are hoping to raise awareness about climate change and will lobby European lawmakers to bring in laws to tax big individual polluters. Organizers say the ultra-wealthy and their companies paying far too little tax is at the core of many of Europe's problems. During this protest, they will demand more measures to address billionaires allegedly using shell companies to evade taxes. They say urgent action by authorities is required to reduce the wealth gap between the bloc's richest and poorest. Ishan Garg in Brussels, reporting for DD India.
Floods continue to engulf cities and towns across Russia and Kazakhstan after Europe's third longest river burst its banks. The water level continues to rise in flood zones, where large amount of water is coming to the new regions. Kremlin says forecast is unfavorable. Over 110,000 people have been evacuated so far from the affected regions. Upstream on the Ural, which flows into Kazakhstan, floodwaters burst through an embankment dam in the city of Orsk on Friday. Unusual floods that have gripped cities and towns in both countries can be explained by the heavy accumulation of snow during the winter and the speed at which it melts due to climate change. Let's get to the latest on the world's largest democratic election in India now. Election season is at its peak in India, with parties organising multiple public meetings as the first phase of voting is slated for 19th of this month. In order to garner support for the ruling Bharatiya Janata Party, Prime Minister held an election rally in Uttarakhand's Rishikesh. Later, Prime Minister will hold a rally in Rajasthan's Dholpur. In an attempt to woo the voters, all political parties are organising rallies across the country. Congress leader Rahul Gandhi will visit Rajasthan today. He will be holding rallies in Bikaner and Jodhpur to garner support for the party candidates. Bikaner will go to polls in the first phase, that is on April 19th, and Jodhpur will witness polls on April 26th. India celebrates Eid ul-Fitr with great fervour and gaiety on Thursday, marking the end of the fasting month of Ramadan. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi extended Eid wishes to mark the occasion. Taking to social media platform X, Prime Minister said, and I quote him, "Best wishes on Eid ul-Fitr. May this occasion further spread the spirit of compassion, togetherness and peace. May everyone be happy and healthy. Eid Mubarak." A quick look at other stories making it to the headlines from across India today. 5 children died and dozens were injured after a school bus overturned in Mahendragarh in Haryana. Initial reports indicate the bus overturned while passing another vehicle in the region, says the police official. The Central Reserve Police Force of India conducted search operation in India's Pulwama. These operations are usually conducted to ensure safety of civilians and to prevent any potential security threats. India celebrates third day of Navratri today. The temples recited prayers to Goddess Durga, while a large number of devotees gathered to offer prayers and take part in the morning prayer to commence the third day of the 9-day Hindu festival of Navratri. As the country gears up for Rangali Bihu, the festive ambience fills Guwahati with vibrant arrangements being made to celebrate Assam's most significant festival. Preparations to celebrate the biggest festival of Assam are in full swing. Bohag Bihu is one of the most important festivals in Assam. The festival signifies the onset of the agricultural season and is celebrated with great enthusiasm and fun. On to sports now. Athletics is set to become the first sport to introduce prize money at the Olympics, with World Athletics saying on Wednesday that it would pay $50,000 to 48 gold medalists in Paris. The move is a symbolic break with the amateur past of the Olympics in one of the game's most watched events. In the modern Olympics, which started in 1896 in Athens, athletes have not received prize money from the International Olympic Committee. The prize money will come out of the share of Olympic revenue that the IOC distributes to the World Athletics. A total of $540 million was allocated to the 28 sports at the Tokyo Games, with the World Athletics receiving the most at $40 million. Spanish club Barcelona beat French club Paris Saint-Germain 3-2 on Wednesday in the first leg of their Champions League quarter-final clash. Brazil forward Rafinha scored twice to help Barcelona secure a win at Paris Saint-Germain in a lively match. Barca have earned their first win in the knockout stage in 4 years. Paris Saint-Germain forward Kylian Mbappe was nowhere to be found as 5 times European champions. Barca managed to neutralize France's captain. The hosts came into the match unbeaten in their last 27 games in all competitions, but were undone by a fired-up Barcelona side looking to return the club to the summit of European football. Barcelona manager Xavi Hernandez commented on the extraordinary game displayed by Barcelona.
Yo también soy un barcelonista más.
One of the things I am most proud of is that we have shown strong personality in the face of difficulty, and that is very important in this competition and something we struggled with over the last few years. We did very well. All the players put in extraordinary shift tonight. That's what I am most proud of. This hasn't finished yet. We are just in the middle of the movie. Yes, it is true that we have an advantage. It is a great away win in Europe. It's a moment to be proud of, but this is not over. We have a very difficult match to play in Barcelona next Tuesday.
El equipo es muy difícil dominarle mucho.
Star Indian tennis player Sumit Nagal's second round clash with Denmark's Holger Rune was suspended on Wednesday due to rain. Nagal was trailing in his second round men's singles match against Rune when rain interrupted the contest. Nagal lost the first set 3-6 and was behind 1-2 against 7-seeded Rune before the rain suspension. Rune had been dominating the match until weather interruption. Nagal entered the match on a high note, displaying excellent form in previous matches. In the first round of the main draw, Nagal stunned Italian Matteo Arnaldi with a 5-7, 6-2, 6-4 victory. Now, this victory made Nagal the first Indian to win a main draw match at the Monte Carlo Masters. That's it in this edition of DD India Live. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X and also Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preeti Kaur signing off, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.